Wheels Up and our industry, I would say, the one thing I hear as a marketer, and again, wear the hats and appreciate all of the support there for the Wheels Up and the things that we're doing, is I think we're under-indexed in marketing. Again, something it's my hobby and my job as an industry. And when I think about, other industries and what they do in marketing to create pricing power, is pricing power, in my view, starts with brand, and it starts with trust. And if you don't have a brand, I went out and bought a pair of New Balances. I paid $185 at Kith on 20th and Collins. And I think about, let's pick the sneaker industry. Nike, Adidas, New Balance. Now you have new brands like Allbirds and others out there. And you wonder, I don't think anybody could name a generic brand or a quasi-generic brand. And when I heard the operators up here talking about pricing, it's very difficult to get pricing out of humans unless you have a brand associated with it. And it's not just Wheels Up, it's all of the OEMs. Mike, you did beautiful video, and you guys do an unbelievable booth at MBAA, as does Bombardier. They're known for their booths, and Gulfstream. But BMW or Mercedes spends more in 5 minutes than you spend in a year or a year and a half, on their marketing and their brand. And when you think about the Gulfstreams and the Embraers and the Bombardiers and the Textron brands and all the majors, Dassault, think about the marketing money we don't spend to create that pricing power out there. So again, I think that in a big way that it's on us as the industry. Even the milk industry with the milk mustache from 20 years ago, they came together and put together some amazing, sort of branding story to get their pricing in order as a collective. I think that we need to do more. So I'll call that out and say that we need to do more. I know that you got trade groups in DC that put that together, but they got to change the tagline and update that and put our industry up on a pedestal where it belongs. I would say Wheels Up, just a quick update, is I think there's only one way, and it's funny when I see the stuff about whole aircraft ownership and the pre-owned market and what people are doing with the card market and the membership stuff. I think there's no industry, who's the millennial here that asked the question? Is the millennial still here? We have no millennials in our industry. There's only one millennial at our conference. So, to me, it's about new entrants. And I think what Wheels Up is endeavoring to do at its core is to create new entrants into our space. And what I'm really proud of, I got some partners here. Eric Jacobs, who just joined from the auto industry, scratches his head. They've even done a more progressive job in a certain way of automated and digitizing their space. Jason Horowitz, who's been here for 20 years, my partner, COO of the firm, and Justin Firestone. I would say I'm the second best salesman in the room. Justin, where are you? Justin, stand up for a second. That's the best sales guy in the whole space. So what are we endeavoring to do? We're endeavoring to widen the pyramid at the bottom and really focus on new entrants into the space. For anybody that doesn't know the quick Wheels Up 30-second pitch, is we did two things that are different to get this model going. One is we purchased the King Air 350i, which I like to call the flying SUV of the sky, and we bought that on an exclusive basis for fleet format from Textron when they were still Hawker Beechcraft, and we're 75, 80 airplanes through an order of 105 on the King Air. And what do we get with the King Air? 80% of flights in North America and 85% of flights in Western Europe are less than 2 hours in length. So not only did we get an exclusive on the airplane that does those missions, but we got an exclusive on the price point. It only burns 110 gallons an hour. So you have a product priced under $5,000 per occupied hour that you're bringing to the masses, or the mass affluent. And what have we accomplished now in the 5 years? We're going to exit this year with almost 5,000 members. I would argue to say that our industry combined might not have added 5,000 people. When I talk about our industry, the legacy players, the NetJets, the FlexJet, the VistaJets, and anybody else that counts themselves as a private aviation company, I don't think that anybody found 5,000 net new customers. Our big players, our big legacy players in our space, they're not growing their fleets, they're refleeting. Everybody's sort of fighting for the same peas on the plate. So I think as an industry, and what Wheels Up is endeavoring to do on the other side of its model is be more Netflix than NetJets. Said that before, it's working. So we want to be more Netflix than NetJets. And we have, in my view, the only model that's working from a true membership perspective. I know there's a lot of different talk about companies that have membership models, but I would just say it's not a membership model if you don't have a retention rate and people aren't renewing. And the 5,000 people or so that we'll leave this year with, the retention rate we're really proud of. It's somewhere between 82 and 84 right now, but it's a tale of two cities. The tale of two cities is that people that are flying 12, 13 hours or more, we're retaining them probably at 92 to 95%. And we have a bunch of people that are really aspirational in our space that are flying less than 10, 12 hours a year. And we're retaining them in the high 70s if you look at them as a group. But if you think about that versus sort of the gym model, I'm one of the people, I join gyms if I like the gym, but if I don't go, eventually I'm going to stop paying. So we're trying to figure out how we tier our membership in a more fair way to the people that need us for 2-3 flights a year that don't want to pay $8,500 to stay in for that right. So if we can do something at a few $1,000, the way I think about growing the pyramid in a meaningful way is, you know, we hired a guy, Ken Napolitano from Bloomberg, and his mission is very simple. He's working with Justin and the sales team to take us from roughly 5,000 members to 10,000 members. It took us 5.5 years to get to 5,000. We want it to take 3.5 years to get to 10,000. What does that mean? Our member is spending $80,000 a year on average. That's with the small flyers and the larger flyers. So if you had 10,000 of them, they're spending $800 million a year on our system. And the craziest thing about our member, and our member isn't the wealthiest member in the world, but he, she, or the company that's flying with us is spending $120,000 away from us. 80 with us on the Kings, and we have some Excels and 10s, but 120 away. That's the next piece of our business. How do we digitize? How do we make our Wheels Up flight desk? We've repatriated out of the, I guess if we do the quick math, if we have $400 million of run rate revenue at $80,000 per 5,000 members, we have $600 or $700 million of money that's not ours yet that's going to come into our house if we can get a product right for them. And again, for the operators in the room, we're going to price this fair, and we're going to price it, you know, premium to fair versus the race to zero that I heard up here from Journey. You know, we're here to make sure we don't get a race to zero, but we get a race to a fair margin for the operator and a fair margin that the customer ultimately will pay. You know, when we all look on the screen and we look to Uber, we look to Airbnb, I would say it's almost more simple for me. I look at OpenTable.com. Everybody knows what OpenTable is? OpenTable, okay. OpenTable. You want a restaurant reservation, you don't want to have a concierge, you don't want to bother anybody, you go on OpenTable. Why does OpenTable work? Why does OpenTable work? Real-time revenue management. The manager of the restaurant, if he or she wants reservations or wants action on the OpenTable system, they got to keep the thing updated. They got to tell you what tables are now sold and what tables are off the lam, and the system does a lot of it for you. But ultimately, the person that owns the restaurant has to commit to this software and commit to keeping it real-time ready, and you go. I mean, Hotel Tonight, simplest model in the world. Every hotel out there, Bookings.com, that's more of what I think our space can be. Bookings.com has 300,000 bed and breakfasts that it represents. The people have to tell you what rooms are empty that night so they can book it for you. I think the amazing thing about our space, and Eric, we talk about this a lot every time we have our Chinese food or sushi. Eric says to me, it's amazing that the operators in the space can't sync up with the front end of the space, which are people like Wheels Up, to create this real-time inventory system so that there can be either direct book or just a smoother way that our stuff can get sold into the public. You know, we think about empty legs all the time. There's probably, in my view, there's 25, 50,000 people, if we're successful, that can give us $17,500 to join, or if you're a corporate, $29,500 to join, $8,500 to stay in. If you're an individual, $14,500 to stay in. It's probably 10. If we can get 10 in the next 3 years, there's probably 20 in the next year or 2 or 3 after that. But that's finite. But how many people in the world could afford $2,000 or $3,000 membership? So again, if that's our Amex Black, what's our Amex Platinum? What's our Amex Gold? How many people in the world that are interested in private aviation? And look, JetSmarter before us, Surf Air. There's a lot of newfangled models out there. I root for all of them to be successful. I would say those things, they feel like add-ons to a business like Wheels Up versus primary businesses or any other space. I think that ride sharing, the whole concept of that, you need a fleet before you can ride share. You're not going to ride share on other people's fleets. That can happen maybe after you establish it on a business that has some permanence, but I don't see those things standing alone. I think there will be consolidation there. But again, thinking about the addressable market, which is the key to our business, if there's 50 to 100,000 people playing in our market today, where are the next few 100,000 people? I think Amalfitano showed it. You know, are they going to be the Jetsons people that, you know, the 0 to 100 mile eVTOL solution? Probably. But I think there's a few 100,000 people that can pay a couple of $1,000 a year to be sort of aspirational meets, I might take a flight to my college to go see a football game. I might take my wife on one trip a year. How do I access the system? If that's a couple of grand a year, and maybe even you give back that money in the form of credit, just so you get people to commit, I think there's hundreds of thousands of people that can join a tier of our industry, and those are the next people that'll come up or down the funnel, depending upon what your funnel looks like, and come into a program like ours, a fractional program, a whole aircraft program. I just think that if we don't do a great job getting the funnel going, I think Apple does a great job. My 11-year-old and my 15-year-old and my 18-year-old daughters, they've done a nice job. They're going to be on Apple product the rest of their lives. You know, we don't do that as well as those companies do. I would say lastly, you know, we've seen a few companies out there. I give Clive Jackson a lot of credit. Clive Davis on the music side, Clive Jackson on the aviation side. Give Clive a lot of credit. You know, this digital brokerage business, you know, how many people do I believe in my heart after the 10,000 or 20,000 and the 100,000, $2,000 to $3,000 a year players there are? There's probably 1 million people in this country that have the net worth. And think about Uber. All they would need to do in sort of a free tier is go on the app, slide their credit card in. They don't have any dues or any commitment to you. But on an opportunistic basis, what could that group of people do, and how much business is out there with that group of 1 million people? I would say that it's probably as big as any other piece of the pyramid. That 1 million people might be able to spend $3,000 to $5,000 each. If you do that, the numbers get very big very quickly. That's $3 to $5 billion that could be spent if you could find 1 million people to do that. You know, when I look at that $2,000 to $3,000 tier, I think about people that can spend, and I see them in my own membership, sort of 10 or 20 to 30 or 40,000 bucks. Then it's okay. If you pay $2,000 to $3,000 to have better access than a free tier, for that's something I would invest in. Everybody in this room could afford that if that were important to he or her or she or the company. You know, I'm really bullish about the space. Just historically, I came up the right way. Richard Santulli gave me my opportunity in February 2001 with Warren Buffett, who had just bought his business in 1998. You know, Wheels Up is now 5.5 years in. We're going through some structural changes. I would tell you that for anybody running a business, the people that got you from 0 to 100 million are not going to get you to 500 million and $1 billion. You know, the people that got you to the playoffs are not going to get you to win a Super Bowl. And we've had some unbelievably talented people, but we're sort of you know, Rocky 3 needed to be better than Rocky 2. You know, maybe Rocky 1 was you know, special movie. But once you start getting out in 3, 4, and 5, those sequels got to be pretty good. And you know, we're spending a lot of our capital and our time on getting talent together to get us to $1 billion, $2 billion bucks of revenue and building the team out that way. Reed, we can run I'll run a couple of commercials. I like the marketing, I can't help myself. So I'll just talk about one quick deal that we're doing, I like to say for the industry. There's a TV show, we're focused on college alumni. All of our research and data, including our taxi cab research, tells us that alumni and the group that's watching college football is more affluent than the group watching pro football. That's usually a city regional deal, and the college football gets more national. Alumni are spread all over. We made a deal with ESPN that every week at the crescendo at their sports center for college football, which is called College Game Day, it's Home Depot, we run 2-3 spots in the top 15 to 20 markets. And we also fly in, we created a feature with them called the Wheels Up Celebrity Picker. And we fly in a celebrity. The show moves around to do the picks for the week. And it's been great. It's about 2-3 million people that watch the show. We get 100, 150 leads every week via that. And we close business, believe it or not, without talking to people that saw us on a TV, and then it actually comes in and closes. So I figured we'd run a little bit of the creative, And then we got 4 minutes left. Take a few questions if anybody has them. I know Allie's got one preloaded. Wilson Leach has one. God. Loud, loud. All right, not bad. Brady, Russell, JJ, Kirk Herbstreit. Couple things that I want to mention again before I open it up. One is what people don't know about Wheels Up. Give a couple of quick bullets. Tech. We have over 50 people on our tech team that are full-out techies. 20% of our bookings last year came through our app, 40% this year. And we're not even in the rhythm yet. I can imagine a day when all of it will go through the app. The sales stuff, the leads that come in through the web, mind-blowing, and we're not even really at full throttle that way. So again, I think that there's no escaping that this industry needs to spend more money on tech. And when I think about tech, because again, I'm low SAT, low GPA, is I think about just convenience. I can use Uber, my kids use Uber, I'm like, Dad, get an Uber. I'm like I'm the tech guy in the family when they ask me to procure an Uber. It's gotta be that easy for our end users, our end customers, to be able to book our stuff and get it there. And again, it's never gonna be 4 minutes away and it's an Uber Black. It's 8 hours away and it's a Praetor. So, it's gotta be that easy. There's 47 models I heard, or 57 models in production. There's hundreds and hundreds of car models in production, and they make the whole thing work by class and whatnot. So, quick questions, Allie, you got a?
Okay, you've got two on the app. From James Hardy. What is the utilization of your aircraft, hours and flights per month?
It's a great question. We'd like to improve it by about 10 or 12 hours, and we're working on that. We're probably in the 40. The King Air is 40, maybe in the busy season for us, which is the summer, could go up to 45 or 46. I think the difference between us running 40 and 55 is technology. If we knew exactly where they were all the time and our members could get special deals, would I be open for dynamically pricing moves that we have to make? By the way, it's not just Wheels Up, the whole industry. How do we collectively get more utility? The best fractional programs are running 2/3, 1/3 on occupied versus empty moves. Now, the fractionals can never put their stuff out to an app because it's owned by the owners of the fractional airplane. But people like us, there's nothing stopping us from having a free tier of member that can see the movements, and if we got half the price, just cover my DOC when we move it to the next revenue member flight. We'll all print money. We'll go to the pool and go print some money together.
You can't print money in the pool. It would get wet. Any more questions? Chad from AIN is asking, is Wheels Up profitable? If not, when do you project?
Well, we're committed. First off, I would just say we have the best investors in the world in T. Rowe Price and Fidelity, and the messaging from those businesses, which can't invest small money, they have to invest big money, is to grow, grow, grow. When we brought in Eric, we made a commitment when he came in 6 months ago that 2019 was going to be EBITDA positive. I think we get to a cash flow positive run rate shortly thereafter. But that said, it's tough to start a business and grow a business. We've taken a lot of pain. I never look at about profit and loss. Look at Uber and look at Airbnb. Are they losing money? Are they investing in market share? Market share is not cheap, and I think that we're still in the investment mode. But I think being that we're now 5.5 or 6, that EBITDA profitability is going to be important for us. I've said publicly we're going to try to do something in the public markets in late 19, early 20. I think we're tracking there in a great way, and I think it'll be a lot of fun if we get there.
So we've got a question from an OEM. What's the next aircraft that you're going to buy?
What's the next aircraft?
You're going to buy? Are you going to stay with just King Air or just Textron?
I would tell you this. The next aircraft that we're going to buy is the aircraft that the operators in this room are going to buy. So meaning all of the operators in this room that have aircraft that's available for rent. I think like a mid-sized pizza chain, that you don't need necessarily a head of sales, a CMO, 3-4 salespeople running around regionally. I would say that Wheels Up would like to front end all of your airplanes and deliver you not the lowest price that you can get for lift, but fairly priced, prearranged lift that we can put through our front door. And again, Brady and Russell and JJ and Serena, they'll make sure you get the price that you need. So I would say, what's the next airplane we're going to buy? It's the next 1,000 tails or 2,000 tails that are safety vetted and verified that can come in and be sort of our second round of what we do. If Amazon had books, their books are our King Airs. After that, Amazon will sell you anything that they know the companies that they sell stand behind in the Amazon box. So that's our next airplane.
Okay, any old-fashioned questions for Kenny?
What about the millennial? Millennial have anything?
I think, by the way, we've got more than one millennial.
You got a super millennial back there. You got a super millennial in Wilson.
We'll come back. I'll go to the baby boomer afterwards.
All right, well, since you called me out, what do you think of the buy-the-seat model, and will Wheels Up invest in that space?
Say that again?
The buy-the-seat model, where you
what do I
just
think of
sell
the buy-the-seat model?
Right, and will Wheels Up get in
I
this
said it
space?
before, I'll be more clear. I think it's incredible from an innovation perspective. I don't think that a buy-the-seat model stands on its own. So, let me ask you a question. Is American Airlines, could they have started a buy-the-seat model, an airline, without the airline? Could Delta, could they have built those brands with a third party coming in and saying, hey, you buy the airplanes and take all the risk, and I'm just going to sell the seats? So I think that there's been some interesting endeavors in our space. I would say that if it's too good to be true, it's not true, type of offerings. But I think the reality is, I know my membership, 82%, we surveyed them, said they would share their airplane. How that works and how that goes, that's for us to figure out. So I think it's viable, but I don't think that stuff happens on its own. Two people in Silicon Valley or in Florida or in Rhode Island are not going to disrupt the space that way. An existing fleet will be able to get something, a flywheel started. I think that it's viable, but it's got to be done the right way. Wilson, what do you got?
Okay, so this is from the baby boomer. So every Sunday I'm watching golf, and I text you every now and then about your
I text
golf.
you right back.
I know you do. So tell me, how's that working out, the golf sponsorships, and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I would say that there's an amazing arbitrage for everybody in this room if you want to play it, is that with broadcast television, which still owns rights, does things very traditionally, they're competing with Facebook and with Google and for Apple. And kids, by the way, the baby boomers are watching golf, and they have the most money in this country, which is why we advertise there. But what's happening is people's time is being diluted, and there's a big opportunity, whether it's with old school companies like NBC on the golf or CBS with the golf or college football, where if you do want to catch the sort of the 50 to 80-year-old male who's interested in golf, it's not as expensive as one would think. And that said, is that stuff coupled with high-definition television. 30 years ago, if you bought a logo on someone's chest, I don't care how good your eyesight is, you couldn't have seen it. Now you can pick it off from the other side of your room because of high-definition television. So there's been a great arbitrage in what I would call sort of traditional TV, where you can really get your brand out there. So I would say from an ROI perspective, we spend very little in golf for what we get as it relates to people seeing our brand out there and that ultimately converting into business. So thanks, Wilson, for the golf. And of course, I'll always text you back. Millennial alert.
Yeah, there's 3 of us right here. Just want to point that out.
Hold on, you guys got to stand up too. There's millennials here.
You mentioned that 85% of the flights in Europe are 2 hours or less. What is Wheels Up going to be doing in that space in the near future?
It's a good question. That's from Avinode, Team Avinode over there? Okay, well, Team Avinode has a lock on Europe. We obviously have a great relationship with the company, Oliver, Nicholas Pear and company. I think Europe's a different bird. I would say this, that, I have experience in Europe. We opened up Marquis Jet Europe. We started selling Marquis Jet cards in Europe in 2002. We had so much success with that Berkshire Hathaway bought that business from us in 2004. So it will be our second dance in Europe. Europe, if I had to flash the gun and say, how would we do it? I think we'd go inside out in Europe, which is partner, do some M&A, partner with some right people, that have some brokerages or that have some existing business in Europe. And I guess once you had some annual turnover there and you have some brand recognition, we have a beautiful relationship with Gamma, who is out of Farnborough. That's where their world headquarters are. So could we see making an acquisition or two and then sliding 10 King Airs in behind it? We'd probably go digital first and analog second there, but we're excited about Europe. We know, Avinode tells us all the time about the stats there, that everybody's digital there. It's just a matter of us getting there with our brand. I would say that there's not a lot of brands in Europe. I would say Dichter being an exception, or some of the others, Private Fly and others that are starting to get recognized, but they're not brands the way that I think we have brands here in the US. So big opportunity. I already know that you can't do the same deal, but everybody that tells me, and this is just my observation from 2002 to 2004, everybody says, you got to do it differently in Europe. There's so many languages, there's so many different things. Then how did Nike and Google go to Europe and just kill it? Well, why is there not a search engine that's a European search engine? And how come the Diodora shoe or the Lotto shoe isn't doing what Nike's doing, over there in Europe? Same for Google, but same for Apple. So yeah, you have to be, listen, you have to market our product differently in the Southeast than you do in the West. But I don't think it's wildly different, and I think that we can.
You are going to have to work on other sports.
What sports?
You're going to have to learn cricket and soccer.
Thank you, Ali.
Clive first.
Question for you, Kenny. Don't try and understand the rules of cricket, so that'll save you a ton of time. But on a serious note, I came to Miami to the Corporate Jet Investor Conference in 2014. In fact, that was the last time I heard you speak, and you were just getting going with Wheels Up. I think you had under 1,000 customers. So first off, congrats for 5,000 in just 4 years.
We like to say in marketing we were approaching 1,000 customers.
Yeah,
that's somewhere between
I think
zero and 1,000.
We were all a little skeptical at the
it.
time, but congratulations on that growth.
That reminds me, just one anecdote. Mark Twain once famously said, this is for the millennials, I left home when I was 15, and I returned when I was 21, and it's amazing how much my parents learned in those 6 years. So, just a little millennial piece of guff.
So just taking the company forward, in the next 5 years, what does success look like for Wheels Up? How big do you think this market could become for you?
I would say when I think about what Wheels Up can do in the public markets, because that's where I want to be, and that's where this company and where our space deserves some representation. The comp that I look at for us, what can we be if we're successful? Go look at what they did with Vail Resorts. It was one mountain. Now it's 17 mountains. It's a network of mountains, and they did it through membership. So they have something there called an Epic Pass. An Epic Pass costs $939 per person, and there's 700,000 people, going to 1 million, that own an Epic Pass. The market cap, if you want to look it up, it's MTN. The largest shareholder is Henry Ellenbogen from T. Rowe Price, my lead investor. It's got a $10–11 billion market cap. All it is a wildly successful compounding membership model that captures a whole market, or a winner-take-most market, and they undercharge you for being a member. They make it very easy to be a member, and they get you when you go to the mountain. The French fries are expensive, like everything is in our space. But I think it's about getting new entrants and new models. So if you look at them, let's be realistic. If you got to a $10 billion cap from where we are today, which was 692.5 in our last valuation, that would be wildly successful. And if we could do that in 5 years' time, if it takes 7, we'll take it 7. But that's what I would consider like a successful comp for Wheels Up.
Brilliant. Thank you.